This is Fothentic History.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Brian Young.
And I'm Holly Fry.
Holly, how do you like talking about Jedi?
I love it.
What about Jedi who served on the Jedi Council?
I super love it because this is a fascinating piece of history. And it's one that, like, when I say I love it, I'm not always on board with all of it. Even though, like, I recognize their importance in galactic history, I can look back and say there were problems here. So I'm really excited to talk about it.
So, just for your information, this is going to be split up into 2 episodes. So in this first episode, we're going to talk about the Jedi Councils multiple, and the personalities of some of the Jedi that we have records for. And then in part 2, we'll finish out some of those biographies and the end of the Jedi Council as we know it. So this is a 2-parter, and it's just because there's a lot of personalities we have records for that served on that body. So you're going to hear about everyone we know served on the Jedi Council in the waning days of the Republic that we have records for. So how does that sound?
That sounds fantastic.
So, like I said, we're going to start with the Jedi Council, how the Jedi were structured, about some of the personalities involved, and the Jedi, in case you don't know, were the keepers of the peace in the galaxy for over 1,000 generations in the Galactic Republic until the purge by the Sith Lord Darth Sidious when he executed Order 66, which you'll hear a lot about as we get into a lot of these biographies.
And the Jedi Council was actually divided into 4 councils. The Jedi High Council, the Council of First Knowledge, the Council of Reconciliation, and the Council of Reassignment. And each of these councils had different roles and responsibilities, with the Jedi High Council acting as basically the highest of the bodies.
Like all the councils, the Council of First Knowledge met in one of the tall spires atop the Jedi Temple in Coruscant. Theirs was called the Tower of First Knowledge. And they were led by the Caretaker of First Knowledge, and this body oversaw the curriculum of the Jedi trainings, managed the Jedi archives, which were a repository of knowledge the Jedi had, a sprawling library that contained every scrap of information they'd collected over the millennia.
That's one of those things that I wish that I could time travel and just see that library.
Yeah. Renderings of it are beautiful.
Absolutely. The Council of Reconciliation convened in, naturally, the Tower of Reconciliation. And this body worked closely with the Galactic Senate and the Jedi Diplomatic Corps to settle disputes across the galaxy. This is really where most of the peacekeeping work of the Jedi was done.
The Council of Reassignment convened in the Reassignment Council Tower, and they oversaw Jedi younglings who were not chosen to advance to the rank of Padawan. This council also oversaw the Jedi Service Corps, who would perform services and good works across the jurisdiction of the Republic.
The last of the councils, the Jedi High Council, is often just referred to as the Jedi Council. They met atop the High Council Tower, and they had domain over all Jedi affairs. They were governed by a body of 12 Jedi Masters, led by a Grand Master Jedi. And though this body answered in some ways to the Galactic Senate of the Republic, they were given total autonomy in governing Jedi affairs.
Now, at this point, we're going to go through some of the Jedi who were on the High Council in the last couple of decades of the Republic that we're aware of. Much of this knowledge was lost during the Sith purge of the Jedi, but we've pieced together quite a bit, and we'll offer brief biographies here with the relevant historical context of their ends.
So we're going to start with Adi Gallia, who is one of my personal favorites. She was a female Tholothian who wore this beautiful Tholoth headpiece that had a lot of these white that looked like head tails, as named, that kind of hung around her head and face. She was dark-skinned and had beautiful blue eyes. She was born to a high-ranking family of diplomats on the planet Coruscant, and she had earned her position on the Jedi Council by the time of the crisis of the Trade Federation and its invasion of Naboo.
She served on the council from then until her death during the Clone Wars. She was a part of Master Mace Windu's strike team at the First Battle of Geonosis and served through the Clone Wars. At one point, she was tasked with rescuing fellow council member Eth Koth alongside Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker, all three of whom we'll talk more about later.
She fought in many engagements during the war after the rescue of Master Koth, and was at many important spots in the galaxy. She helped survey the massacre at the Jedi Temple on Deveron. She fought in the Battle of Lola Sayu, and was captured by General Grievous and was quickly rescued by Master Plo Koon.
Her last mission was to the planet Florum. There she accompanied Master Obi-Wan Kenobi in his quest to hunt down the former Sith Lord Darth Maul and his brother Savage Opress, and as they'd been wreaking havoc in the galaxy and working to open a third front in the war. And after teaming up with Hondo Ohnaka and his band of pirates to fight the Darkseid-wielding brothers, she was slain by Savage Opress in a fight.
And Adi Gallia's seat was left open at that point, and she was replaced by Coleman Kaj. And Kaj was a male Ongri who was granted a seat on the council late in the Clone Wars. He was present for the proceedings against Padawan Ahsoka Tano when she was accused of the murder of a protester named Letta Termond.
The records indicate that he was present at a number of other meetings as well, including a briefing about Clone Trooper Tup and his malfunctioning brain chip that might have helped the Jedi learn of Order 66 early. He oversaw the meeting that paired Master Windu with Representative Jar Jar Binks on their mission to Bardada. He listened as Master Yoda talked of hearing the voice of Qui-Gon Jinn and was involved in the decisions regarding the giant Kyber crystal that Kenobi and Skywalker had found on Utapau.
And he was also present when Skywalker was granted his unorthodox seat on the council shortly before Order 66. Kaj's whereabouts after Order 66 are not known.
Yeah, that's really about the long and short of what we know about him. He attended a lot of meetings, and that's kind of where we found him in the record, was literally just him sitting in meetings. Stas Ali was a female Thalothian with dark skin. She wore a traditional Tholoth headdress, and she had vibrant indigo eyes. Immediately prior to the First Battle of Geonosis, Stas Ali was recruited by Mace Windu's strike team to rescue Obi-Wan Kenobi, his Padawan Anakin Skywalker, and Senator Padme Amidala. She fought in that battle and survived with the help of Grandmaster Yoda's clone reinforcements.
Later during the Clone Wars, she was granted a seat on the Jedi Council, sometime after the death of her cousin, Adi Gallia. She fought with distinction during the Clone Wars, but when Darth Sidious ordered the Purge of the Jedi, she was on the planet Seleucami, piloting a bark speeder with a complement of clones from the 91st Mobile Reconnaissance Corps. Clone Commander Neo received the order and pulled back on his own speeder, blasting Master Ali's speeder, and she crashed and was killed there.
And we're going to talk about Eth Koth. He was a male Iridonian Zabrak from the planet Nar Shaddaa. His force sensitivity was discovered when he was 4 years old, and he was brought into the Jedi Order at that point. He served on the Council from at least the time of the Naboo crisis through the Clone Wars. He participated in Mace Windu's Jedi strike team at the First Battle of Geonosis, and fought during the wars after that.
A year into the conflict, Koth's flagship, the Steadfast, was caught in a battle with the cyborg separatist leader General Grievous. With losses mounting, Koth ordered the evacuation of his ship, but could not himself evacuate before Grievous boarded and confronted Koth on the bridge. Koth may well have been able to defeat Grievous in a one-on-one fight, but he was eventually overwhelmed by Grievous's Magna Guards.
Grievous captured him and intended to torture him to death, but not without using Koth as a valuable hostage. Koth was forced to record a transmission to the Jedi Council on behalf of Grievous, and during that transmission he was able to use secret hand signals to communicate his position, which was aboard Grievous's ship in orbit around Seleucami. The Council dispatched Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Adi Gallia to rescue him.
Koth remained a member of the Jedi Council for a time after this, until he was replaced by another Zabrak Jedi, Agen Kolar. His whereabouts after Order 66 are also still unknown at this point.
So Yaddle is the next member of the Council we'll talk about, and she was a member of the same mysterious species as Master Yoda, which we don't know very much about at all. They were very tight-lipped about that, and we don't have any records of them. but she was about 400 years younger than he was. She looked similar to him with green skin and eyes, but had golden brown hair. She was an expert in the dangerous Jedi technique of Moritro, which was an ancient art that allowed a Force wielder to slow the bodily functions of an opponent, even to the point of potential death. And that was something that they didn't even let people learn or teach them. She was very specialized in that skill and was sort of one of the few allowed to even attempt it.
And during her time as a Jedi, she found and trained the Jedi Master Oppo Rancisis, who was also granted a seat on the Jedi Council at some point before our records start. Master Yaddle served on the council at the time of the Crisis of Naboo and helped decide the fate of young Anakin Skywalker. But before the Clone Wars broke out, she resigned from the council, deciding to take a less active role in Jedi affairs. She was known for her quietness and wisdom, much like Master Yoda, and she is another one for whom we do not know her whereabouts post Order 66.
So Yaddle's Padawan turned Master Oppo Rancisis was a Thespiasan Jedi who hailed from planet Thespius. He had a flowing gray beard that covered most of his face, save for his eyes and mouth. He had green mottled skin with long fingers, and instead of legs, he had more of a serpentine tail. He was discovered sensitive to the Force as an infant, and as we said, trained under Master Yaddle.
At one point, he was actually offered the throne of his homeworld, but he refused it, opting instead to remain a Jedi in the service of the whole galaxy. And after that, he eventually became a master and was admitted to the Jedi High Council sometime before the Crisis on Naboo and Resurgence of the Sith. He was present on the council for many of the large decisions throughout the Clone Wars, and his whereabouts after Order 66 are still unknown.
Yeah, he's one of those Jedi who our knowledge of him largely comes from, we're essentially meeting minutes, where it's like, yep, he was at that meeting, he was at that meeting, he was at that meeting.
So that's important, though, to point out, right? We often think about that in our own daily lives, like those basic minutes type record keeping as boring and lame, but they're important. Those are sometimes the only surviving records that we can work from.
Yeah, exactly. So Yaddle's replacement on the Jedi Council was Shakti. And she was a red-skinned Togruta with white and blue Montrals. She was skilled with her abilities of telekinesis during battle and had an affinity for teaching, which made her a natural fit to oversee clone training at the planet Kamino toward the end of the Clone Wars.
She fought in the Battle of Kamino, defending the planet from a separatist invasion under the command of Asajj Ventress. She also oversaw part of the investigation into the malfunctioning brain chips of the clones Tup and Fives at the end of the war. And had she persisted further, she very well might have discovered the secret of Order 66.
Although her physical whereabouts after Order 66 are unknown and we don't know if she survived or died after that point, Master Yoda, in the final days of the war, had traveled to the planet Dagobah, which is a nexus of the Force, and he saw a vision of her impaled by the lightsaber of Anakin Skywalker turned Darth Vader while she was deep in meditation. We don't know if that vision actually happened. Another piece of her that we found was a holocron of hers that had been found after the war, long after the war, and was collected by Luke Skywalker, or it was found by Luke Skywalker in the collection of Gracchus the Hutt.
Next, we're going to talk about Yarael Poof, who was a long-necked, green-skinned Cormian Jedi who was on the council again by the time of the conflict on Naboo. He was known as a skilled diplomat and a master of the art of tricks and illusions with the Force, probably owing to the second brain that he possessed in his chest. He was one of 4 Quirmian Jedi at the time that the Sith returned, and he was the most senior member in the Order of the Quirmians.
Poof was killed on a mission sometime prior to the First Battle of Geonosis and was replaced on the Council by Coleman Trebor.
Coleman Trebor was a Verk from the Sembia system with a sharp, fin-shaped head, black eyes, and gray skin. And there's really not very much known about Trebor, but we do know that he was part of the strike force on Geonosis that Mace Windu led. He was killed at the hands of Jango Fett at the Petranaki Arena.
He's another one of those where it's like meeting minutes, but he didn't get very many meetings in.
Yeah, that was he had a short series of attendances.
Yeah. So, Evan Peel is the next one we'll talk about, and he was another Jedi that had been on the Council at the time of the Naboo crisis, but he never made it through the Clone Wars to their completion. This diminutive Lonic boasted pale white skin, long ears, and a gray ponytail. He was also known by the thick X-crossed scar that took the use of one of his eyes, his left eye. And he was known for his proficiency in lightsaber combat, but his tactical ability was described as lacking.
He spoke in a really thick accent, and he was kind of known for his gruff demeanor, but also for being really courageous. And at one point, almost 2 years into the Clone Wars, he was captured by separatists along with his captain, Wilhoof Tarkin. The two of them had both memorized half of an important bit of information involving the Nexus route, which was an important hyperspace line to the which was an important hyperspace lane to the Republic.
They split this information knowing that if it fell into separatist hands, it would be disastrous to the Republic war effort, but they were caught and taken to the Citadel, which was a prison designed to contain Jedi and tortured. This was in the Lola Sayu system. Tarkin and Peel were eventually rescued from captivity in a daring plan led by Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker. Skywalker's Padawan Ahsoka Tano tagged along and was with Peel in his last moments.
And Anuba attacked, and Peel couldn't save himself, and Tano couldn't defend from the attack. So in his dying moments, he actually forced her to memorize the information that he had been holding in his head so that she could deliver it to the Jedi Council alone. And he died there after whispering that information to her. Tano brought his body back to the rest of the group, and Kenobi and Skywalker oversaw his makeshift funeral, using the Force to put his wrapped body into the flow of lava.
Plo Koon was a male Keldor from the planet Doran, and he was on the Jedi Council. He achieved the rank of Jedi Master and earned that seat sometime prior to the crisis on Naboo. He had to wear a mask to breathe in atmospheres that were hospitable generally to most other species in the galaxy.
And Koon is notable for a number of reasons. One is that he found Ahsoka Tano as a Force-sensitive toddler and brought her into the Order, and of course she went on to become Anakin Skywalker's Padawan, although the two kept a close friendship. Koon was one of the 200 Jedi in Mace Windu's strike force on Geonosis during the first battle of the Clone Wars. He also aided in the discovery and destruction of the separatist capital ship superweapon, the Malevolence. That was a massive ship that could render entire fleets inert with its massive ion cannon.
As a general in the war, he was given command of the 104th Battalion, and they took part in a number of important conflicts, including the evacuation of Felucia and the rescue of Eeth Koth. After the young bounty hunter Boba Fett had committed an assassination attempt against Master Windu, Plo Koon and Padawan Tano led an effort to find Boba Fett, which led them to Florum, where they faced off against Fett and his bounty hunter allies. He also helped investigate the slaughter at the Temple of Edith on Deveron and served as communications support during the rescue of Master Peel and Tarkin at the Citadel.
He served with distinction throughout the rest of the war, but he was eventually killed in Palpatine's call of Order 66. He was actually on a mission on Cato Nemoidia in his Jedi Starfighter when the order was given, and his clones blasted him out of the sky. Although no body was found, he was indeed presumed dead.
And with that, the first casualty of Order 66 that we got to, that was the first Jedi Council casualty of Order 66, we're going to cliffhang you a little bit, and we're going to get into the rest of the victims from the Jedi Council of Order 66 next time, and talk about some of the most important members, namely Mace Windu, Anakin Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Master Yoda, and many others. So I hope you tune in for that.
Surely, who wouldn't want to?
I don't know. So I don't have any mail this week, but we would love to hear from you. If you want to go to fothentichistory.com and use the contact form to let us know what you're thinking. We always loved to hear what you want to hear about. We want to hear your involvement in any of the events we've talked about. Holly, where can people find you?
Oh, I'm around. I'm on Instagram as SurlyGirly5, and I'm on Twitter as SurliestGirl. You can find my history podcast, Stuff You Missed in History class, at Missed in History. And you can find the Star Wars podcast I do with you at fullofsith.com.
Yeah, Full of Sith is a great time. We talk about Star Wars, and we really like Star Wars
a lot.
a lot. So if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me, like Holly said, at Full of Sith, or this show, or you can find me on Twitter at Swankmatron, and that's pretty much if you type in any social media ranging from Instagram and Facebook to Patreon and Twitter, you can find me by using Swankmatron. As far as Fothentic History goes, you can go to fothentichistory.com. You can look at our entire backlog of episodes, listen to them, comment on them. They're also available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also find us on Twitter at Fothentics, and you can find us on Facebook at Fothentic History. And we'd love to hear from you. If you like the show and want to give us a review on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever else you listen to the show, we'd appreciate that too. Do you have anything else this week, Holly?
No, you've done a capital job, Mr. Young.
I'm just excited to get to the next episode.
All right, we'll go work on that while the nice people go take a break.
Okay.